All right, so we are live on the PHU Dynasty podcast. This is episode 83, and we are live on the scene today, James. Usually, we had our hot tub trade machine earlier in the season this year, which obviously was a huge deal in our league. But now we're in San Antonio. We're in San Antonio,
not San Antonio, Texas, but San Antonio, Florida.
I got on the wrong flight when I came here. I actually accidentally went to Texas now. Yes, San Antonio, Florida. We're here at the new headquarters for the Los Angeles Lambs, so everybody's thrilled about that. But we have a great episode for you today. We're going to do prospect propaganda, which is essentially a preview of the draft, if you will.
Yeah.
But we're going to talk, I don't want to say at length about each prospect in this draft, but we'll kind of highlight some specific players. Get you introduced to the class, perhaps, if you haven't really been doing a whole lot of research.
Speculate on some landing spots.
See where players might fit in our actual dynasty league in terms of our order. So that maybe there'll be some different like landing spots you may not have thought of, or maybe haven't really looked into too much. So we'll get into all that. But to start the episode, I think James has
I have to name that player for us.
A name that ran. Is it now, James? Is it name that crappy receiver?
It's a crappy receiver.
Okay, so it does fit the mold of what we did last week. I couldn't find a link, so I don't know what the heck's going on. So anyway, if you can see this live, awesome. But you might not see it live. You might have to watch it tomorrow. So I apologize for that. We're running on an iPad, and I have not figured it out yet. So I'm looking for the link, and ideally we'll find it and send it out to you. Okay. But right now,
I will start with our name that shitty receiver. So he was 2007 he was drafted in 2007.
Drafted in 2007.
And okay. he played from 2008 till 2011. He was a 7th round draft pick of an AFC team. Played for another two shithead AFC franchises he played for. Two of the worst AFC franchises he played for.
I feel like that can help me.
2008 to 2011. He has 1,060 career yards.
Wow.
In four NFL years. So he just got to the 1,000 number. And the reason this player came, I was inspired. We were driving home late from Orlando. And we were at town, and there was the name of a shitty. Like if I give away the name of the town, I'll give away the name.
Oh yeah, don't do that. Yeah.
But there's like a random town in on the way back from Orlando that was the name of this player, and I was like, wow, this is a great random receiver.
All right. So 2007.
And Clemson was the college. You asked for the college.
Clemson draft pick, and this is a receiver.
So 2007.
This is gonna test me.
Yeah.
So this is pre AJ Green, because 2007. I'm trying to think. So this is a tough draft class. So this was So this will be like.
This is like Braylon Edwards draft class.
This might be even too soon for my draft knowledge, which is. But you said he was relevant between 2007 and 11, so I feel like I should be in the.
He was barely relevant.
Barely relevant.
He was relevant because on one of these teams there was a legendary quarterback that played, and I feel like he caught a couple touchdowns from this legendary quarterback. Okay. He was your classic like shitty number 3 receiver. Like he wasn't very good. He was number 3 receiver for a couple teams.
So
barely allowed.
So my gut is saying, if he caught passes from a legendary quarterback and it was a shit team, it sounds like a Jets player.
You are correct.
Sounds like a Brett Favre.
Yeah, he was drafted by the Jets. Yep.
So if that's the case, it's too early for Jeremy Curley, so we're gonna rule that out. I think we're in the Lavernius Coles era, perhaps, which would mean we are also. So it's not Braylon Edwards, obviously, because I think he did better than the stats he mentioned. So I'm going to say no to Braylon Edwards. I'm going to say no to Lavernius Coles because I think he had a better career. Man, bad receiver on the Jets.
Oh, yeah. Jericho Cotchery was on this team. Lavernius Coles was on this team. David Clowney.
So it wasn't any of those guys?
Wallace Wright. Sorry, these are deep cuts.
Wallace Wright.
These are really deep cuts. And so I got one. So basically the other receiver there.
The only other receiver.
It's the name of a shitty, like when you hear the town, you're going to be like, oh.
Is it a pretty well-known Florida town, or would you say like no?
Dude, we were taking back roads from Orlando.
Okay, so it's deep. It's deep.
This is a deep cut. We're not gonna, we gotta
he's from Clemson.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. This is really hard.
Okay,
really
words.
Hard.
Okay, if you're something in life, you're trying to rhymes with duck.
Rhymes with duck. The last name or the first
name? You know, you're you're not moving forward. You're like trapped. You're what in life? You're
Stuck. Oh, Chancey Stuckey.
Chancey Stuckey.
Chancey Stuckey.
So we were driving through town, and the town was Stuckey. I was like, it's Chancey Stuckey. So
dude,
there you go.
Yes, that's a great irrelevant crappy.
He was a great. He was not a great, but he was
He was
receiver
around at least. That is actually insanity. Like I don't think I ever would have heard Chancey Stuckey's name again. I mean, actually Wallace Wright was probably a deeper cut, to be honest. But
that's what the AI brought up for me. And Brad Smith was also apparently.
you just type in name of shitty receivers?
No, I did the 2008 Jets wide receivers.
That's incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. What an absolutely outstanding call from the Lambs GM here to my left. So once again, I'm trying to get this link pulled up. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to pull this off. We might just have to roll without it, unfortunately. I'm going to go to the channel one more time, and then if it doesn't work, we're just going to roll ahead with the propaganda. So I'm on we're on live. Okay, here we are. So I'm going to post this in the Discord.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe it just takes a second for it to actually get going. But we are indeed live, and it seems to be working. This is the first time we've been doing this on the iPad, so it seems to be working okay other than that. So, all right, so I'm posting this in the Discord. And James, so we're going to talk essentially about
some of the top.
I would say the first round players in our dynasty draft, as it stands now, of course, before landing spots, before all that other stuff.
I listed 13 players here, and so I would say there's a good chance that some of these will be first round players. A good number of these will be first round players.
I would agree, and I think this is an interesting class as a whole. Obviously, if you've paid attention to any sort of Senior Bowl or any sort of Todd McShay or Daniel Jeremiah, everybody's going to tell you the same thing, that this is a good running back class. And I can't say I disagree with them. This is an excellent running back class. I think we at least have, to me, if I'm looking at all the prospects that I've watched and all the stuff I've read and all the information I'm taking in, I think there are at least 11 backs. 11 backs that I would take on day 1 or 2 of the draft.
It's crazy. I mean,
so that's rounds 1 through 3.
It warms my heart. As someone
it warms my heart too.
And we're looking at 2, prospect propaganda. We're looking at 2 teams here that need running backs, and both picking the top 3. It seems like this is the year to have that kind of capital to invest in those players, right? We're gonna get to GT because that's the crown jewel. And I'm not gonna sit here and try to say I'm not upset that I didn't get, but the facts are I didn't get it. I was tanking for it. It didn't work, but. Most likely he's going to be the one. But there are the top 2 backs that I want to talk about that we talked, Judkins and Henderson. It feels like those are 2 backs that could challenge in that top 5 area of backs. What are as Ohio State fan? I know we talked. You like Henderson better.
I do like Henderson better.
Yeah.
I have reasons for that. One of the reasons, if you kind of dig deeper into Judkins, he was a bit of a jagaloon.
Yeah.
He ran himself out of Ole Miss. There was an instance on the field where I can't remember what game it is. I'll have to go back and find. He literally took himself out of the game because he was upset because the offensive line wasn't blocking for him.
Yeah,
don't love that. However, the Armadillos really apparently like
it fits in.
It fits the Armadillos vibe. Now that being said, I don't. He's an 18-year-old at the time. He could just be a jackass and learn from his mistake, whatever. But there was a reason that Lane Kiffin didn't try harder to bring him back, which gives me some level of concern. Now, that being said, from an NFL standpoint, he fits the mold. He's a big back. He's a good contact balance. He has the size. He has everything that the NFL is probably looking for. He can catch passes.
Ohio State gave him the workload.
They gave him a bigger, heavier workload, which is interesting with Henderson.
Yeah.
Because, I think it speaks to Henderson, too, because he was at least... he could have left.
There's a chance he could have been the top back last year.
I think he would have been.
When Brooks was, it was a weird class.
I think he would have been at least a top 3 back last year.
Yeah, I feel like he would have been.
So it's an interesting pairing. I said this to James earlier. I think the NFL is going to fall in love with TreVeyon Henderson. I think based on everything I've been hearing and stuff that Charlie said and things from sources that we all read, it seems like teams love his leadership. They love the fact that he wasn't selfish enough to be you brought in Judkins. I hate this. I'm just going to be a douche and whatever. He just split the workload. Frankly, I think it benefited him. He's one of the best pass blocking running backs in the draft. He's great on third down. He's fast. He's explosive, and I think he's better with a more limited workload.
Well, we saw it, dude. He in the title game or in the semis, he had some long touchdowns in the college. I'm talking about.
Very
Henderson.
Jameer Gibbs like.
Yeah, so that's
what do teams want right now?
Yeah, no, and the fact that he was able to be productive as like almost that caddy role,
right?
Like the sidekick, where it's like that player will always have a role in the NFL, especially today's NFL. With you need like you may not get your 20 touches, but if we give you 12 and you can still take one to the house and like you can get 100 yards and a touchdown and stuff. Like,
yeah, I mean, and
he's a really good player.
I think he's a talented player, and I also think if he ends up in the right, and we'll talk more about like landing spot situations here in a minute, just overall. But there's certain guys that fit in certain places in this draft in terms of the running backs. I feel like you have a good amount of guys that are good on third down. You have a couple of really good like first and second down bangers, and then there's a couple of guys that can do it all. I think Henderson is one of those do it all guys.
Okay.
And I feel that a perfect fit for him, and maybe not so much as a fantasy player, but I've seen a lot of mocks of him going to the Chiefs at the end of the first round at this point.
Yeah, that's...
Which if you got a healthy Pacheco to be your ground and pound guy, your Montgomery, if you will, and then throw in a Henderson who's good on third downs and frankly is a perfect Andy Reid type back. I think that's a good spot.
It would be a better use of capital than Clyde Edwards-Helaire there.
Right? I think it was the exact same pick. It was 32. That was the 32nd pick. And
we love you, Sean.
Yes, of course, Sean. The co-host, unfortunately, he wasn't even invited to the show. He wasn't even on the show. But I don't know how much draft research he's doing these days with his.
Yeah, he doesn't need to do the
I'm not really sure if he's too deep. He's busy. He was on vacation this week, so it's a long week for John. But yeah, I hope he had a great time, of course. But anywho, all that to say, I think Henderson's going to be the more coveted back by the NFL, which will mean he'll probably be the higher draft capital back, which means he'll probably be the higher pick in our draft. That's kind of where I've ended up. I think it'll be an interesting situation if a Judkins, for example, who I think is more of a 1 and 2 down back, can do third down things. I don't think we haven't been able to rule that out because we haven't seen it much.
The personality thing worries me. What if he goes to just a bad team? Because it
happens.
You know, bad teams do in the draft. They try to get good player. Like
they try to force something that might not be a good player, a good fit.
He's. I mean, a lot of players are landing spot dependent, but he seems like a player that like if he goes to a spot where he doesn't get a full workload or it's a workload where it's a bad team, I don't know. There are concerns.
If he ends up on a team where it's a split workload or we joke every year about this, but there's always a team that takes a running back that absolutely really doesn't need to take a running back. The Seahawks are absolutely in that mold of teams. The Jets have done it. They did it twice this year. They took 2 backups. So there's always a chance that I think in this draft, Judkins is a second-round player. In this, just in terms of the overall class, I don't think anybody will love him enough to take him in the first in terms of the NFL draft. So I think that's going to end up being a second-round player. And let's say he goes mid to late second, and he ends up on a team like the Rams or just like some team that just doesn't need a running back. Frankly, it could happen based on best player available. I don't think he goes in the first round of our draft at all. At that point, he's a landing spot dependent player. Where I think Henderson will find the field no matter what. I feel more safe with Henderson.
You're convincing me on the spot here.
I mean, I'm just saying.
No, I mean, with Judkins, it's hard to get past though that the team that just won the title trusted him more with the ball as the workload, right? True. But I also saw him get caught from high on that 70. He couldn't score a long touchdown in the title game. He got caught. I'm curious how both of them test. If Henderson,
that's the thing. Is that they run.
If Henderson, who knows if they're going to run, especially in today's but if either tests well, it's gonna be interesting.
If Judkins comes out and runs fast as shit, he'll be in the conversation for the first round because people just love him. Yeah. I know from a first and second down running back standpoint, he's got contact balance. He can get through the hole. He can move. He'll truck you. He's a good back. I'm not going to sit here and say that he's not a good back. I'm just I think there's more to like about Henderson right now than Judkins out of the 2 backs. I don't think it's close for me.
Wow.
I have Judkins lower currently.
Yeah, no, it's interesting looking through that evaluation lens versus how watching the college game, how they actually use. But is it indicative though of how the NFL could use him? But Henderson,
it's a hell of a staff they got at Ohio State.
No, yeah.
So
and Judkins has a great team.
They know stuff. Yeah. So I'm not going to sit here and say that he didn't earn those carries. He was their leading rusher. So maybe they know something I don't. Clearly, I mean, obviously they probably do. So like,
well, all right. So if you take Judkins at number 2, I'm gonna know that this was all propaganda.
I you know, that's what this episode's all about. Is we're just gonna throw shit out there and see what happens.
Right.
But that being said, like, I believe as of right now that Henderson is the better back, and I think the NFL will agree with me. That's
we'll see how they test. Like, you know, the next player on the list who we're very interested in how they test is McMillan. See,
McMillan is an interesting one
because he's somebody that, again, before Gene T really was the guy we were targeting for tanking stuff. Like, McMillan was almost talked about as presumably like in August because he had a huge game early in the year.
Yeah, it's funny. The receivers
looked
like bust for Burden.
Yeah,
you know, that was a thing.
And McMillan seemed, and some of the early mock drafts, I saw him in the top 5. I've since seen some of it start to sour. Again, a lot of this, even the real NFL, is propaganda and whatever the fuck they're trying to do.
Yeah,
like it's interesting.
McMillan is an interesting player. You know, if you're talking to the armadillos here, which this is a prototype armadillo.
That's what I'm saying. Like, he's
big, tall, ex-receiver.
Yeah,
makes plays, goes up and gets it. James, I'll tell you this right now. This man doesn't drop a pass. That's not propaganda. You can watch the tape. The guy just doesn't drop passes.
He's got great hands. But the testing, is he going to be fast enough at the NFL level?
I think he's athletic enough. What my challenge is with McMillan is when you watch him play, he also played against Travis Hunter this year at Colorado. That game was an interesting one.
Okay.
Because they blanketed him. They played a lot of zone.
They put Hunter on McMillan?
At times, they did. It was, but the problem is they played a lot of zone. So you didn't get to see that true one-on-one matchup that I really wanted to see. But there was times that they were on the same side of the field. And I found McMillan to be slow off the ball. I found him to get jammed pretty easily for a big guy. His route and release package doesn't seem to be completely developed at this point.
Okay.
And that's just my evaluation of him. Now, here's the thing is, with his body type and his hands and his ability to go up and make plays and be a moldable player for an NFL wide receiver coach, I think the NFL will love him.
Yeah.
And this is not a good receiver class. So, I mean, the depth of the class isn't quite there. So if you really need a receiver, I don't think you're going to find, like last year or years prior, where you're in the 3rd round and you're finding guys like an Amon-Ra St. Brown. Like, I just don't see that this year right now. Like, where these really solid day 2 players at the receiver position. So I think that's going to bump McMillan up. And like, I've seen McMillan anywhere from pick, 4 in the mock drafts to like New England or something like that.
Yep, I've seen him.
And then I've seen him as late as like 20.
Which,
so
like he's picked 20. He's, like Quentin Johnson was drafted. We were just talking about
Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, like these guys were JSN, like all those guys were like later in the 1st.
Yeah, no, it's a big difference if you get top 10 or whatever. It is. How about this? On a scale of Mike Evans to Drake London for that size, where is he?
I don't think he's even on that scale, James.
Wow, I love it. Because
Drake
London can still get better.
A lot of the comps you're going to see from Daniel Jeremiah or all these guys, they're all saying Drake London. I see Michael Pittman.
See that? Okay, so it's Evans, Drake London, and Pittman's over here.
And that's not to say that Pittman's not good.
No, but he's barely grading out as a wide receiver 3 in fantasy in our game. Because he's in non-PPR, he's barely holding wide receiver 3.
I think, okay, here's a better question. His ceiling is Drake London to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see the Mike Evans.
So
because Mike Evans is physical.
So McMillan's not running 4.4. McMillan's not running 4.4 on.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. Maybe if he's straight lines feature, but I don't think his shuttle is going to be a good time. I don't think his 10-yard split will be quick. So I think yes, if you wanted to run straight fast, I think he could do it. He could be that guy. He's going to make plays down the field. He can catch the shit out of the ball. He literally makes plays that are like, oh my God.
If the Patriots have 4, because a lot of people are high on Drake May. That's an interesting pair. And
now, if that's the case, I think there's real upside if he goes.
What if he goes to the Raiders though, and we don't figure out a quarterback, and we have Aiden O'Connell?
If he goes to the Raiders, I'm telling you right now, I'm not taking him.
Okay.
Because A, I have Brock Bowers. B, I don't want. I just don't want a Raiders.
I can't take a Raiders receiver as the first pick of my rebuild.
In the second pick of the draft, I couldn't do it.
You're not saying it too. I won't do it at 3. Okay.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's going to be very landing spots. But here's an interesting landing spot for you. Like, what about the Saints at 9? What do you think about that?
I'm not taking him at 3.
I don't feel good about that.
Not doing that.
I don't feel good about that. So like, what now?
The Patriots at 4 is the one that's but
that's crazy draft capital.
Yeah.
Like Jamar Chase was taken at 4.
Yeah.
Do we take Ted McMillan at 4? I don't know. I think I don't think the NFL's going to do that.
If you're saying it'll be interesting because you're saying he's not that tier of player.
I don't know if he can. I think he could get there. But I think right now the media is thinking he's there already. And I don't know.
I've also heard though this draft doesn't have that many elite players. Does he get put into that elite player class?
Very good
because he has enough of the measurables. Maybe he runs 80% of what we've he's an 80th percentile cut type runner or 70th percentile type.
I think that's a very fair point. Like if this class truly, I think I was listening to Todd McShay a couple days ago. Like a lot of people in this class think that there's only 20 players with first round grades.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then yes, he could absolutely be vaulted up higher than he maybe should be.
Okay.
But that being said, I think there's more. I think McMillan's a very good prospect. I don't think he's an elite prospect. That's where I'm at.
Okay.
Which I think is pretty fair based. Like he's done great things. Not a lot of competition he's played against. Like we're talking like his best games are against like New Mexico State.
That's fair.
And like just like his big blow up game was New Mexico State. He had good games against good opponents at times. But my thing is, I don't know if he is going to be a like separator in the middle of the field. I don't know. I think he's good after the catch. My biggest thing, like I love, and this is going back to Vince and I watching AJ Green in college, where he does things that make you say, "Oh my God!" Yeah. Where it's like he'll go up with one hand over his head and like behind his head, and like it's like, oh, and I maybe a team will fall in love with that and say like, okay, we can teach him all the rest of this stuff because he's just not there yet. I don't know if Arizona gave him that coaching, so not to say they can't project that high, but that's the way I look at him right now as it stands. His draft capital will be most important.
Yeah,
I think if he gets great capital and it's a good situation, he might go higher in our draft. But I have a hard time taking him at 1-2 right now, based on the fact that there are going to be running backs that get good spots.
Yeah,
there will.
All right,
there's no doubt. Okay. So and let me say this, so we can keep going with players, but let's get back to the running backs for a minute. If you're looking at the draft as a whole, and where the different teams slot, and let's say there's a first round running back, it's Gene, he's probably going to go, top 12.
Yeah.
What other spot outside of like Dallas and under in the draft would be a landing spot that you would be like jumping or chomping at the bit to get one of the other backs? So not your team.
But under, like, you mean going to like?
I mean going towards
going towards the good teams.
Yes, correct. So like 12 through 32 or something like that. Sure. So like what spot would like let's say a Hampton?
I think it's the Chargers.
So Chargers. That's a big one.
Definitely the Chargers.
So if GT goes in the top 12, let's say he ends up at the Cowboys or something like that, or just for shits and gigs, then let's say the next back, if it's Henderson, Judkins, Hampton, Johnson, whoever ends up being that next back goes to the Chargers. I don't think there's any way I don't take that back at 2.
It breaks my heart having,
I love Chargers backs. I love Ryan Matthews.
I'd love to monopolize the Chargers.
I love Melvin Gordon. I had these Chargers backs. It just makes too much sense.
The way they play, it feels like that's the other team that could take it back. The other option would be if a team wanted to trade into the end of the first round,
which is very possible,
to get like Henderson or Hampton if they really like them.
I could see that, and then get the 5th-year option on a running back, which everybody knows likes paying running backs.
Yeah,
perfect.
So you just kind of build it into, hey, we're gonna get a good player for 5 years.
That's why I think if I had to bet right now, James, and I wonder if I could bet this somewhere on Hard Rock app or whatever, I would take, just as a flyer, 3 running backs in the first round. Wow. As far as like, I think it's possible.
I mean, that's. Boom! I get a first round. Yeah,
I think it's possible.
That's the That's the kind of propaganda.
Because think about it. Okay, here's the propaganda. So let's say Genty at 12, we get like a Henderson at Chargers pick, or like a Hampton. Then the 3rd pick is like maybe the Chiefs or maybe the Broncos, because we're just said there's only 20 players in this draft, James, that are truly first round grades. Now the 2nd round running backs could become first round running backs. That's where I'm at.
If you're a good team and you don't really like the options there, no, they could.
So, like, I think if there's 3 backs, you, me, and Dustin are going to throw a parade.
Oh, my God.
Because everybody's happy because somebody's getting the first round.
Sorry, Tibbs, you're left out.
And then whoever's at 4, Tibbs, is just going to be, he'll have to figure out
McMillan,
if McMillan is going to be Michael Pittman or not.
But okay, so we're talking about McMillan, possible top receiver.
It's
almost like, we're going to get to, the crown jewel, but the elephant in the room, I think, in fantasy is Travis Hunter.
That dude, I gotta tell you,
isn't this just like, it's like, guys, like this guy, he's gonna be a receiver. It's gonna say receiver / cornerback unless things drastically change. He's gonna be literally a top 2 pick, and in dynasty, he's an afterthought, Eric.
I mean, off the rails, he's number 1 overall pick.
Yes.
I mean, off the rails,
he's
a whole difference.
That's the off the rails podcast is coming later.
But an off the rails podcast would be incredible. What a stupid podcast that would be. Hey guys, let's talk about IDP this week. All right, so let me ask this. because I don't know how much Hunter you've watched or whatever.
I'm a college football fan, so I've watched
You've
a lot
seen
of.
probably
I
a lot of
watched
Colorado.
him and Shedeur. Yeah,
Okay,
I'm sure
perfect. So then here's the deal. Let's say the team that drafts him, I don't know who it is. Let's say maybe it's the Browns, maybe it's the Patriots, maybe this. Let's say they say he's going to get a Devin Hester workload, right, from back in the day. Like, where would you even consider taking him?
I think it's a late first in our draft.
Like late first, early second?
Late first, early second, where like whatever the random cutoff of like, all right, there's no more good sure thing running backs. Honestly, it's after the other big couple receivers.
Okay.
And it's after probably the tight end.
Probably agree with you, honestly, because I just don't see.
If it's stated that he's not going to get a receiver role, he may fall to the top of the second or middle of the second.
If he's not going to get a receiver role, so you're basically taking a cornerback in the draft.
Sorry. If it's said that he's going to play
like limited snaps,
like he's going to be more of a if the vibes are he's more of a third or fourth receiver and he's going to be playing more cornerback than you would like.
Like basically. To me, like I don't know if you're an NFL team, and especially like let's say he gets drafted with the Patriots at 4, right?
Yeah.
They got who's their head coach? Mike Vrabel. Who played 2 ways? Mike Vrabel. I think he would be more inclined to play him on both sides of the ball if his conditioning works out. I guess like
it seems so insane, but like we're seeing Shohei Ohtani do it in baseball. Like
he might just be different.
He might just be different.
This
dude might just be different. Like,
and if that's the case, Travis Hunter.
Does he go ahead of McMillan in our draft?
He has elite ball skills.
This dude
is super athletic. I pray he runs in the combine. Because if he runs out there at 6'1", 193 or whatever he is, and runs a 4.3 or some shit, and is literally the most conditioned player we've ever seen come out of college, because he literally did it all year for the last 2 years, I don't know how you don't take him in the top 5 of our draft.
Yeah, which is
like
crazy.
He's just so sick. Like he's everybody knows he's a great talent. It's all about the workload. Yeah. It's all in the landing spot, of course. But if there's a legitimate chance that he's playing all the snaps on offense and all the snaps on defense, you have to take him.
That's the biggest thing. We have to get assurance that they're gonna give him a lot of snaps on offense.
But how do we get the assurance?
You're right. We're probably not gonna get it.
Because like the coaches can come in the post-draft press conference and be like, "Hey, like we're gonna he's a cornerback, but we're gonna give him snaps at receiver." He's not gonna say how many snaps he's getting.
No.
But what if it's like, oh shit, we're so like for the Patriots, they don't need fucking receivers. Yeah. So like maybe they'll be like, all right, we'll give him we'll make a package, Travis Hunter package, and then he starts busting off like 60-yard plays, whatever. You're not just gonna not put him on the field more. You have to put him on the field more. So like I don't know, he's such an enigma because I love the player. I think he's an outstanding talent. I think he's a like I hate throwing the word generational talent. But I can't remember the last time
we've never seen a player
that anybody's done this in my generation, at least. Maybe like I guess who's the other guy?
Closest I would say is we saw J.J. Watt catch like 5 touchdowns, or Vrabel,
or like anybody that provides offense and defense. Like I just don't, he's a very rare player. So that being said, from a fantasy perspective, especially our draft, like I think he's too talented. If he's at least assured any level of receiver play. Yeah, I think he's too talented to not take at the end of the first at some point.
Yeah, but he could go.
But
more
he could go way higher.
He could go more mid first if things are, well.
Like it would be crazy if let's say the Patriots draft him, and then Mike Vrabel in the press conference is like he's gonna be a receiver, like just says that.
Yeah,
dude, he's fucking going right up the boards. He's flying up the boards.
Look, yours truly at pick 6. Like him.
That's a great spot to take.
Those are the kind of things I'm looking at in those spots. Or do the cheese fries who have the installation to take just like, hey,
they're BPA to me.
Just take the hey, if he doesn't work out, but like he could afford to stash him for a year if he had, or 8 games if he had to.
Whereas, for sure. Yeah.
Whereas I'm looking for a little more of a.
Let's see what you got now. Kind of
I
would like to see what you got. You don't want to sit there and wait around too long.
Right.
Like I was in that position 2 years ago where it's like. Like with the Quentin Johnson, Jordan Addison, like I was like, I'd like to see what you got now.
Yeah.
But I'm not expecting you to bust off 1,300 yards or anything. It'd be nice, of course,
yes.
like a Brian Thomas, if you will. But that's rare. It just doesn't happen. Like we've been very blessed with rookie receivers.
There's been some really good.
We've had guys, the Brian Thomases, the Puka Nakuas. I mean, the Malik Neighbors, even for that matter. Like there's been. I hate dude. Marvin Harrison had a good year.
I know, but we all think he sucks because it was 900 yards.
It's not good enough, apparently. Yeah. But yeah, of course he was drafted high. But it's hard. It's harder for receivers. But I guess we could round out maybe the receivers with Luther Burden talk, James.
Sure.
So I feel like he's in the mix in the first round, absolutely.
Yeah.
He's a bit of an enigma as well because he had an unbelievable sophomore season.
Yeah.
Like very, very
You know,
talented player sophomore.
I know. And again, as someone who was tanking this year, I watched college football with more through that prospect lens. Oh shit! Hey, there's a Missouri game on today. Like
I'll
let me
check
make
it out,
sure
yeah.
I throw on the side TV because I need to watch Luther Burden. There were times there are other receivers that flashed. Theo Weiss, I kept seeing.
I like
You like Theo Weiss,
and he's got a great name.
It's a great name.
What
Theo
about Theo
who
Weiss Jr.?
Who doesn't love Theodore Weiss? But like
James, are you taking Theo Weiss in the first round?
yeah, this is.
I'll take Theo Weiss in the first. I don't even have. I gotta get a late first or second draft him.
But I think Bird, it never feels great when you feel like versus the last year he like to go downwards in your production in college. It just never feels great, right?
It's not what you want.
He had a better year his junior, or he's a junior now, or
I think he's a junior.
Whatever.
I don't think he's.
He had a better
his
year.
second year, we should say.
Yeah.
Whatever it was, if he redshirted or whatever, his second year was not good, or it was good. His third year was not good. This year, James, I watched some Missouri football. It was not fun to watch. Their quarterback Brady Cook was dog water. That guy stinks. Somehow he got invited to the Shrine Bowl.
Yeah.
I don't know how. This guy couldn't hit the broadside of a barn. I counted a zillion overthrows on Burden. So I don't think it's entirely his fault. That being said, when you have a player like Burden who is you get the ball in his hands and let him make shit happen, how does that not produce at all? He had 800 yards this year.
I know.
That's not good enough. Now, here's the thing is, I like Luther Burden. I like him. I really like the player. I think he, in this day and age in the NFL,
where
he fits really well.
I feel like the fit, and so that's going to be the biggest thing is what team takes him. Because if it's a good team that knows how to use him to because I don't know, I almost feel like Hunter has the talent where he could transcend it. Like if he really is generational, he could transcend. And McMillan, if he has the size, could. Oh, landing spot depending, he's great. Almost like again, I hate to like a Brian Thomas, like fuck the Jack. The Jack suck, but he's so good.
But he's so good it doesn't matter.
Yeah, like Bowers on the Raiders.
Right.
A bad team.
There's always the Malik Neighbors did it.
Yeah, Malik Neighbors. Like awesome players or just do awesome things. I don't know. I'm not sure if Burden is that.
I agree with you.
And I didn't see that on the field.
Because
I watched him with Keenan. I was like, man, I don't know if this guy is. Again, if he goes to the Chiefs, we're all gonna love him, or like the Bills again, because like the Bills.
But are you gonna love him on the Chiefs?
No, you're right.
They got a lot of shit going on.
No. Honestly, it would be running back. I'd be excited.
So here's some realistic landing spots for Burden, because I kind of thought about this a little bit, because I think we're looking at somewhere between 15 and 30.
Yeah. No,
he's
he's not going higher than 15.
I don't think he goes higher than 15 based on the production of the last year. I think NFL would not view that positively.
No, but
I'm thinking Broncos.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe
they need a volume receiver.
Packers, perhaps.
Yeah, I don't like the Packers.
Like I'm just saying, like these are the spots that could happen.
Okay.
I don't feel terribly good about either of those spots, to be honest with you. I really don't even like the Broncos landing spot.
The Broncos need a volume receiver. Sean Payton knows how to use a volume receiver.
Right, and it seems like he's prioritized bigger receivers.
Yeah, I don't know if he would go with
even like the little Jordan Humphreys.
Devon Vele's there. They don't.
Of course, yeah.
They don't need Burden.
The 27-year-old rookies, yeah, they'll be okay. But here's the deal with Burden is. I think I saw enough of his sophomore tape to say this guy could be a difference maker in the NFL. And I like that aspect of it. And he fits the West Coast screen pass, slant pass, the Rashee Rice role, one of those, mesh concept roles. Like that's the guy he could fucking blow up. He could be a sick NFL player.
If the Bucs let Godwin walk, could we take
that? Okay, that's a realistic landing spot. If we throw him in the slot, dude, he's a slot.
Have him, McMillan, and Evans. Oh my God!
I think there are times his highlight, Burden's highlight tape, not the game tape, is special. He does shit that is special. He's done it at against good opponents 2 years ago. I think there's a legitimate chance that he's a good player. Okay. Now, I think his what do they call it? When you
range of outcomes. Maybe?
Yeah, like poker, like your range, right? His range is all over. It could be.
I feel very
he's a risk. He's a risk.
He in our draft he feels more of like that 7-8. It's because of the strength of this running back class. Yeah. Unless he gets, especially because I feel like he's going to be at best the third receiver taken behind Hunter McMillan, like in the real NFL.
Assuming that Hunter's yes. Okay. Yeah. So I think Burden. All this being said, I sound like I'm hating on McMillan, which I don't. Yeah. I don't really feel like I don't hate him. I don't not like him or whatever. I feel the same way about Burden. There's just I feel like I see a big range of outcomes. So to me, they're neck and neck.
Okay.
like as in terms of, until I see a landing spot, like from a prospect profile, they both have positives that would allow me to take them in the first round.
Yeah.
At some point, I just need to see where they end up before I'm willing to commit to anybody as a top 5 dynasty pick, at the receiver position this year, because the running backs are so strong, James. They're so good.
Yeah.
So maybe we should get to another running back, perhaps. I don't know.
Speaking of running, we're what are we 35 minutes in, and we haven't addressed.
We have plenty of talk to go on running backs. And
it's GT, right? This is the crown jewel of this class, right?
Right.
And I think we should start here because it's the presumed 1-1. Because we talked about this earlier, and I want you to say this for the propaganda, say it on record, especially before he tests.
Sure.
Where do you think he is in terms of we're talking the Bijan, Barkley, because we know he's the 101 pick.
Yes.
It's his to lose unless something happens, right? From this point
Yes.
forward. So where does he rank against other presumed 1-1s of yesteryears?
To me, he is, from a prospect, not like saying what we know they are now, but when they came out as a prospect. That's how I'll answer the question.
Yeah.
I think he's between, for me at least, Bijan and then Jonathan Taylor. He's somewhere in between that.
Okay. So you think Bijan being better, and then he's ahead of Jonathan Taylor?
I think he's ahead of Jonathan Taylor. I think he's ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs
as
a prospect.
Okay.
But behind Bijan and probably behind Barkley. Dude, Lance Zierlein, I don't know if you like him or whatever.
I know of him, yeah.
His comp is LaDainian Tomlinson. Like, we're talking
for GT. Interesting.
like Marcus Allen. Like, people are talking Hall of Fame level comps.
Wow.
Like, now, I mean, I'm not saying like you should listen to them or whatever. All I'm saying is if you look at the tape of Barkley, you look at the tape of Bijan, the one thing that separates like these awesome running back prospects, to me at least, is contact balance and second level vision. Those two things are so fucking important. And it's a guy that was underrated, still is underrated, still is like, honestly, like from a talent perspective, should be a Hall of Famer, Nick Chubb.
Yeah.
This guy had contact balance and second level vision. It's not about, I don't give a shit about like 40-yard dashes for running backs, because I know that every one of these guys, if you're on I-75, James, and it's an open fucking highway at 2 a.m., I know you can drive. I know you can go straight. How do you function in 5 o'clock traffic, James? That's what I want to know.
I love.
That's what I give a shit about.
How do you maneuver at 5 o'clock
Because
traffic?
in the NFL, you're not going to have fucking HOV lanes that are wide open. It
No,
doesn't.
and that's for the receivers. That's like,
I don't think that's.
They don't need a
like. Of course, like you're going to have a fast back. Like obviously, like Henderson should run fast. Jahmyr Gibbs ran fast.
But
that's not the end-all be-all.
Yeah.
So for running backs, what I want to see.
He's a workhorse too, GT.
Of course,
so
of course.
So,
he can
like
catch.
that.
He can do all that.
So he's a 20 carry a game, insta 20 carry a game
Absolutely.
guy. So like that 5 o'clock traffic thing is like, he's your guy. He's your bell cow.
He's a guy that can take the workload. Yeah. And if you watch the tape, James, the guy doesn't fall down. He absolutely, he's like a weeble wobble, dude. He doesn't go down. And he could be chopped at the knees, chopped at the feet. His balance could be completely off, and he could be wobbling all over the place, and he still finds a way to stay on and keep speed. It's crazy business what he can do, and he does such a good job of reading second-level blocks on a pulling guard. It's a dirt cutter offense at Boise State, James. I watched a lot. We watched a lot of dirt cutter offense.
Yeah.
There's a lot of pulling guards, a lot of zone concept. He handled everything. He did everything well. The only thing that like keeps him from being in that top upper echelon that I haven't seen is, we just don't know it, is like how is he running the combine? Because like you look at Barkley, we knew Barkley was a freak of nature.
Well, and Barkley played in the Big Ten, and GT
much better
plays in the Mountain West.
That's another piece of it.
He torched Oregon. Oregon sucked.
I think they were overrated as a defense all year, but personally.
Okay, but yeah, so that is. And the other thing with GT, I guess is, I don't know if he was like Bijan. I feel like we knew about a year even before. Barkley, like again, I'm not. Some like draft film scout. I don't pretend to be.
I really don't either, to be honest. I watch a lot of it, but I know there's people that know a lot more than me.
Yeah.
So
sure.
like I would rather listen to people that watch running backs all the time. I know Daniel Jeremiah fucking loves him. He has like his 2 overall player in the draft. Like these people that I trust that are saying that he is the next coming of like Marcus Allen and shit. Like this, it's crazy. It is crazy to believe.
Wow.
But it's possible. And just to talk about Ashton Jeanty one more time, like would I love to have Ashton Jeanty? I could sit here on prospect propaganda and knock his ass down. I'd be like, oh, he's a shit prospect.
Yeah.
He's just not, James. He's not. And to your point, you said we heard about Bijan the year before. We heard about some of these guys the year before. Jeanty heading into this year, before the college football season started, I think he's on Walter football. He was like the number 5 back, the number 6 back. Like he was in the mix.
I think that context is important, and it's not to disparage the player. It's just I think
he wasn't like a known commodity.
He wasn't the known
this
101 kind of thing. Like,
but he definitely. I mean, his performance. You can't sit here and like
by September 18th, it was like, okay, this is the 101. Yeah,
you just knew, and he's got the look. He's got the. I mean, he looks the part. I know people hate the way he stands up straight in the back. I kind of love it because it just makes it feel like I'm just better than you. I'm just gonna do whatever I want. Yeah. Like he's just a special player.
He seems like he's got a good head on his shoulders. All this. So I say
I think he's the 1-1, and I don't think he can even say.
Is there any chance that the Elk don't take him or?
Like Sean and I were talking the other night on Rivals. What's the doomsday scenario for Jeanty going to the Jets at 7?
I know.
Like what other landing spot in the top 15? That would be like, I'm not taking him at 1-1. Is there another spot?
No, I know.
If he goes to the Saints, would you take him 1-1? I probably.
You still have to.
Probably. I would take him at 1-2. I'll tell you that. So I mean, I just don't know another spot that would be like, who would be stupid enough to take a running back when they already have a running back?
Yeah, like it feels like any team that takes him is gonna like have the need. I feel like no one's that stupid. The Jets.
But to counterpoint that. What's crazy is if you go on any big board that's been released by anybody that you remotely trust in the draft community, he's a top 3 to 5 player. And if the NFL views him the same, like if he's number 5 on their board and like you get down to pick 9 as the Saints or whatever, like they might just say, we got to take the top guy on our board if they stay true to their board. Like some people don't stay true to their board. But if that's the case, you could get a shitty landing spot. It's not out of the question, but I don't like. To me, I think his floor is 12. I don't think
a lot of people are mocking him to Dallas.
It's an easy mock. Mock.
I've seen one to Cincinnati, which I thought was a little crazy.
What did they pick? 20 something?
18 or 17. I saw one in Cincinnati.
I don't think he makes it that far.
I've seen a lot of Dallas. I've seen
a lot of Bears recently.
I've seen a few Bears,
which would be an interesting one.
Which that's a still clear 1-1 because
he's gonna get the ball.
He's gonna get the ball.
So yeah, I mean, like all that to say, like a lot of Jeanty talk there, but like I truly believe he is the 1-1. I'm not gonna sit here and try to say he's not because I think that's stupid.
Dustin, you should pass him.
Dustin, go ahead and pass on so I can take him on 1-2, and maybe James and I can make we can make some sort of agreement, James, where you get him 8 games of the year, I'll take him the other 8 or something. We'll figure something out. But I would love to have him on my team. I'll say that. Who's the next guy you want to?
Well, I think the kind of the next tier of running backs, the non-Ohio State. This is I start with consuming from the college football angle.
Sure.
I was very intrigued by Scatabo. This man's a beast, but
awesome.
I know on more of the testing side, Hampton is one of the guys, right? So I kind of talk about those two, and I know you're intrigued even too by like Caleb Johnson, but like those kind of 3 are 3 guys that are swimming around that like, again, depending on landing spot and capital, they could go as high as in our draft picks 4 or 5, whatever. I'm intrigued enough to say it. I'll take Scatabo at 3. I don't care if they're landing spots.
I love the hustle.
It's probably not going to happen, but
he lands in a good spot.
But guys like Hampton, like these are the guys that I think we're looking at that you and I are very keen on because we need running backs. But even this is like the meat of this draft is because we truly think that these kind of running backs are going to get good draft capital and good landing spots. And it's gonna be like, man, that feels good at 1-4. That feels good at 1-5.
You're not gonna like hate taking a running back at 1-4 in a great spot.
Right. So which of these guys did you really like I said, I'm intrigued by Scatabo, but it could be more of again, he was great against Texas. Like Texas has NFL bodies, man.
Lots of NFL bodies.
He put the team on his back. Though.
He was the fucking.
He was the team against Texas.
He is the guy. Like and I know for a fact, James. I know for a fact. There's going to be a team like Detroit or just like any team that just fucking loves a dog that will take him. There's no doubt in my mind that somebody's going to fall in love with him. And there's no doubt in my mind because of that, he's going to be a day 2 pick at the very least.
That's what, I feel like he'll settle in day 2. I don't know if he's going to test that well. And isn't he like a tad on the older side?
I think there's all that basically.
And that's fine. So
I don't think NFL teams give a shit, to be honest.
But if this kid can ball and like
he catches, he blocks, he can play quarterback. Dude. He does everything you could ask for. He's a dog. He's a team player. I don't know what else.
Dear to my heart. There was a stat that they put up during the game that his rushing receiving prowess. It was some stat I wish I remembered exactly, but it was since McCaffrey was last that did it in college, where it's again the volume of, because he is the offense, the volume
He's
of rushing
great.
and receiving.
He's
So
great.
the production is there. It's just, are we going to get the testing and the landing spot?
And I'll be honest with you, like if the testing's bad, like I don't give a shit. As long as the NFL.
I don't know if I believe you though. I feel like
I don't give a shit. It's like all I say is if the testing is bad and the NFL says he's good based on draft capital, like I don't. I'll be honest with you on this podcast, James. If you want prospect propaganda, I like all these fucking running backs. I love them all.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna sit here and say like, because I could easily sit up here and say I got pick 1, 2, and 2, 2. Now I could disparage all the running backs and talk up all the receivers and tight ends to get all that shit to push down the running backs. I legitimately think this year you're talking. I think there are 11. I've said this to you before. 11 backs in this class that I am excited about. 11. I don't, wherever you want to put them in the grand context of things. 11 that I'm excited about, which means that whoever gets the best landing spots is how my board's going to end up. So to me, if Scatabo ends up in Dallas or some shit, he's flying up the board.
What if Dallas takes in the second round because they,
it's absolutely possible.
The offensive line.
And let's say Caleb Johnson or Omarion Hampton gets like the fucking Seahawks. Then they go right down the fucking board, just because it's a landing spot thing.
The Hampton's interesting because we've speculated, Moon, that you really think he could test well and he could be like a Chargers guy.
If he's a Chargers first round guy, he's 1-2, James.
Just send the card in at 1-2.
Just send the fucking card in. I'm telling you, I wish it's not propaganda. I just love the guy. Like Omarion Hampton, to me, is what the NFL wants. He's 6'1", he's 230, he runs. He has a track background. I think he's going to smoke the combine. Which, if that's the case, he can catch. He has had multiple years of catching. Track background's huge.
Carolina puts out some good progress. He's like UNC Tar Heel, right?
He was the second in line behind, I think he was the next after Javonte Williams in the Michael Carter era.
They always just get good backs.
They find a way to get good backs.
Just good talent,
He produced with Drake May. He produced without Drake May.
Nice.
He's the one of only 4 players in ACC history to have back-to-back 1,500-yard rushing seasons. The other 3 were Lamar Jackson, Dalvin Cook, and Travis Etienne. So that's pretty damn good company.
That's good company.
I truly believe he is the second best back in the class from a talent standpoint.
I think he signifies kind of like the depth and hype of this class because he's a player that I even knew about kind of going into this year. Like I said, obviously I knew both Ohio State backs. Like I knew of Caleb Johnson, who I know you like a little bit. I knew of Hampton, but yeah, like he just feels like he's one of these just like the size speed combo, running backs back in vogue kind of thing.
Yeah,
he could be like
I think he's a first round player.
Yeah, like you really think he'd go in the 20s of the real NFL draft?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. To me, I don't know if everybody else feels like that, but I've seen mocks with him at the end of the first.
If he tests well with the size, and if GT goes higher, it's almost gonna people are gonna be like emboldened. Oh, Barkley wins the Super Bowl MVP and this and that, and GT goes picks it like. It's a copy. Everyone's a copycat.
Everybody
bitch.
wants
everyone wants
the big thing.
Everyone wants
the next Sean McVay. Everyone wants this.
Yeah, everyone wants to ride the wave and
I'm telling you,
let's do it. Yeah, let's get Hampton.
I love Hampton. I love him. I think he's a great player. I also think if you look at him, he's 6'1", 230. This guy is fucking chiseled, James. This guy is he's a different breed of athlete. Whereas if you look at a Caleb Johnson, it doesn't look the same.
Yeah,
it just doesn't look the same. Not to mention, the only thing that I don't like about Hampton is that he's one of those. I think he comps to Leonard Fournette. He doesn't go away from contact. He goes fucking through the contact.
Interesting.
Which could be a durability issue at some point.
And how in the NFL like are you real in college that works because there's not enough talent.
Right.
The NFL these are all pros.
Sure. You're not gonna be running through Fred Warner very often. That's not gonna happen. But what I'm saying is that
teams you will, but not all the teams.
His athletic background, the way he runs, his size, and his production comps almost to Leonard Fournette to me.
Okay.
So if I can get a Leonard Fournette level back at 1-2 and a good landing spot, I'm in. You don't have to convince me. I don't need to see much more. I think he's going to run a 4.4 something at the combine. Everybody's going to be like, he's running a 4.4 what at 230 pounds? I think he's going to be sick. Okay. So I love him. Right now he's like if he lands in a good spot, I like him as my 1-2, and I don't mind saying that because otherwise I just get Genty and I'm happy, right? So it doesn't matter. So
and I got to pick one of the Ohio State backs. One running back that I want to ask you quick about, and I want to go to one of my favorite players in the draft, the tight end. After
here we go. You're speaking my language now.
But one running back who just quick. Ollie Gordon was someone who was like I thought was part of this.
Can't tell somebody wouldn't mention him this podcast because I like Ollie Gordon. I like Ollie Gordon
because he's another bigger back. But Oklahoma State was an awful team this year.
Horrible.
But I also read some stuff that maybe they thought he was overweight.
He also had a DUI. Armadillo's guy.
Armadillo's guy. Big Armadillo's guy.
Big Armadillo's guy. Had a DUI in the offseason.
That's not good.
Didn't seem like he
had a little bit of a down year, but
he had a down year. He had like 800 yards. Like that's embarrassing, especially the Big 12. Where nobody has a run.
Oklahoma State was bad though.
They're just a shit team.
They were a bad team this year.
A bad team. Literally, they're so bad. He got this DUI, and Mike Gundy the day after in the media was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna give him 50 carries as a punishment." He said that. Like some crazy shit like that. I was like, dude, this guy doesn't give a fuck. He knows this is his best player. This is the only chance that they have to win a game. So like, and frankly, if you go back 2 years, Ollie Gordon, if you watch any of that tape, this guy's a savage. He was a Doak Walker winner. Yeah. He won the Doak Walker Award. And he went to just nothing.
I know.
So it's truly a crazy thing. And he's going to be an enigma for teams. He's also been training, I think, with John Gruden a little bit down in the I saw him on the John Gruden Fired Football Coaches Association. He's 6'1". He's 230 something. He's huge. He's big. Somebody's gonna fall in love with him. NFL, somebody's gonna like him.
Okay.
I think he's gonna go high. I think he'll go at least. He's not gonna make it past round 4 based on size, speed, and over. Like you're not letting a Doak Walker Award winner at any point get past the 4th round. I just don't see it happening. Yeah. So like I like him.
Okay.
I think he'll be a tail end of the first kind of guy, or maybe a high second. Because I think what the next guy we'll talk about here with the tight end group, I'm looking at it just like if you look at the first round as a whole, I think you have 5 backs. So I think you have Henderson, I think you have G&T, I think you have Hampton, I think you could argue Judkins, I think you could argue Caleb Johnson is in the mix. And then Scatabo.
I have 2 first-round picks, so Scatabo's going to probably
go. So 6 backs that are legitimately in the mix, right?
Yeah.
Then you put in 3 receivers, which we haven't even talked about Egbuka, which maybe we get to or not. But Egbuka's a good prospect. You got Burden, you got McMillan. We're at 9 players right now, not including Tyler Warren, which we could talk about next. Did
you say Travis Hunter?
Didn't even say Travis Hunter. So now we're at 11. So that Ollie Gordon is probably like an odd man out in this situation.
He's a second round.
So like he's a later.
He's not a first round player.
I'm just saying like if you're looking at the first round, that's probably what we're looking at.
No, that's an interesting way.
There's going to be good players in the second round. Like players with if an Ollie Gordon makes it into the second round and gets decent, capital. I mean, that's a pretty good pick to me. Like, because you're taking a Doak Walker winner in the second round. Like, if you're gonna shoot for upside, there you go. Yeah. So like, there's guys like him. There's, I think there's a couple other backs, like a Devin Neal, for example.
Yeah,
there's a Damian Martinez from Miami. Yeah. Dude, that's what I'm saying. There's 11 backs that I'm excited about. Ollie Gordon is one of them. Dude, there's a lot of backs.
We'll see where they go.
So I feel confident that at 2-2, I might get another good back. Like, I feel pretty good.
That's okay. That's pretty. You're using my ears. That's why. Again, I with 3 picks. I'm 1-3, 2-3. 1-6 there. Maybe it's Tyler Warren. This is the apple of my eye. The Lambs.
That's interesting.
Many moons ago, we took Tyler Eifert at pick 5. And are we going to take another? Are we going to go another Tyler?
James, how much time has passed since then? What year that was?
I believe that was the 2015 draft or 20. No, because maybe it was 2013 draft. I think it might have been like 2012 or 2013 draft because. So
we have a decade basically.
A whole decade has passed since the Tyler Warren.
James, he has the same first name.
Same first name.
What do we do?
Noah Fant was a terrible first round pick, 110.
But in your defense, he was a first round pick.
Yeah, I took him over Hawkinson.
All right, I'm done. But the thing is, like, I liked Fant to some extent as well. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say I didn't like him.
Warren though is a prospect that. Again, we were talking about. It's interesting. Like the success of Bowers almost like amplifies this guy in a way where it's like, like people feel emboldened to take the tight end. Like Bowers, like it's in vogue.
It's funny how like Kyle Pitts was kind of the opposite of that, right? Like we went from like, let's take Kyle Pitts in the top 3.
You know what?
Then like Bowers, like then it was like, no, we shouldn't take one.
I don't think we have time for Kyle Pitts strays.
No, I mean, we can always have time for Kyle Pitts. He's the ultimate decoy.
It just feels like these other tight ends are more involved in. The blocking and are take the contact and are more like Pitts. It was almost more he's this like jump ball receiver type, this like Darren Waller. He should be a big
he's
receiver.
He's
Warren
a
feels
flex guy.
Warren feels like a true inline tight end.
He's a Y.
He's like taking snaps like a Y. Like this dude, he carried Penn State's offense. Like
he threw passes.
Like I said, Jeremiah had him what, his 3rd ranked player or 4th ranked player.
Teams love him. I've heard he's like behind the scenes. He's like an amazing team player. The coaches love him. The whole 9 yards.
Eric, is there a world where he goes ahead of McMillan?
Yes.
Or maybe he goes pick maybe he goes to the Jets, pick 7 because the Jets just need a weapon.
Yeah.
And McMillan goes pick 13 or 14. McMillan goes to the Saints.
Okay.
Are you more interested in Warren or McMillan?
Well, obviously for my team, I'm not the best.
Okay.
But if you're asking for a talent, let's have
look through the lens of my team because I need a tight end. Obviously, I have some pretty good receivers. Am I taking McMillan or am I just saying, hey, I'm taking Warren at pick 6 here?
Okay, so look from a player comp standpoint. I watched a lot of Warren. I love watching tight end football.
Yeah,
it's my favorite position to scout. There's so much that goes into it. I think his ceiling is George Kittle.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Which is crazy. He's athletic. He is able to block at an extremely high level, like more than anybody we've seen in recent draft classes. Like he is like if you turn on tape of Tyler Warren against like the mid-level teams this year, he's blocking people into the fucking stands, James. There's like he is a Sam Laporta type of dog, right? Which is that he's that Dan Campbell player. So like that's the like I love tight ends. I don't think he's Bowers because they're very different tight ends.
And we hit it several times. Bowers, we knew about. He was killing cats as a freshman in Georgia.
Correct. This dude I heard Bowers when he was at Napa High School. Yeah, like people were like, this guy's gonna be stupid good. So like he's been around. Warren, it took a little time to ramp up here, but I
feel like the early mocks, I'm talking like September. Loveland was higher.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But Warren had a phenomenal college football playoff. He was great all season. He made catches that you just shouldn't be able to make as a tight end. The craziest shit I've seen people that I really respect comp him to Gronk, and they're not even scared to say it. They're just like, he's just Gronk. Like he's a mean guy.
You seen the film of him at the USC game?
Sick game.
Sick.
The catch he made up and over the guy's back.
Oh my god!
He's just it. So
it's rare to see a tight end take over a football game. He took over a game.
He can take it over as a receiver, as a flex wide receiver, as a blocker. So here's the deal, James. Going back to what your question was, let's say he goes to the Jets. They need a weapon, whatever. Like I know for a fact somebody in the NFL is going to see this guy and be like, I got to have this guy on my team. The Jets had, of course, previous regime. The Jets liked them before. He wanted Michael Mayer at 17 one year. Like I could see a team being, I don't want to call it stupid, but a team getting ahead, like just so enamored with him that they're just like, we just got to have this guy. If OJ Howard went 13, this guy has to go top 10 or whatever it was. And there's no way that Tyler Warren as a talent gets out of the top 20 to me. Okay, he's got to be a top 20.
Colts is a popular landing spot I've seen because
which would be like you look at Chris Ballard, the GM. This is his guy. This is his type of player. Yeah. Like they love athletic guys, don't get me wrong. But I think he's changing. He's on the hot seat. I think he's gonna have to change his overall draft strategy from stop drafting these athletic guys. Just take the best guy available. He did it last year with Laiatu Latu at 13 as the first defensive player drafted. So I think if you look at just the landing spots, 14 seems like to the Colts seems logical. There's just too many players, or there's too many teams. Like even the Raiders last year, look at them. They picked 13. They took Bowers just because we just can't pass on this guy. Dude, I think he's a similar type of guy.
If he fell to the Bengals at 18, I'm
fucking walk to the podium.
I'm taking my pick 6.
You have to.
Okay, so
you have to.
So again, I'm knee deep in this stuff. Are the cheese fries and the Elk gonna take him at 4 or 5?
I mean, I'm pumping up this tight end as hard as I possibly can.
But also that's because like I said, we probably expect the running backs in our draft to go probably especially the first 3 because you and I are so dire at we need running backs.
Yeah,
it's going to take.
You're going to need to do something crazy.
It's going to be probably 3 running backs to go, and then so the draft really gets going around pick 4, 5, 6 because like the Elk then have a couple picks.
It's Tibbs 4.
Tibbs is 4. The Elk are 5. I'm 6, and I believe 7's got to be
Vince or Justin?
I think it's Vince. No, because I have Justin's pick.
Okay, so Vince at 7.
Vince has 7 because Vince has his pick.
And I would venture to say that Vince wouldn't take him based on the fact that he has Trick McBride.
He has an excellent receiver.
So
yeah.
I don't think that would happen.
So it feels
if you look at, let's go back to 4. Let's look at Tibbs. He's got Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, and no, I don't think anybody else really.
That's on my head.
I mean, Andrews is, obviously he didn't have a good fucking playoff, but
and the Elk just need talent, and they don't have. I think.
And I don't think the Elk have a tight end on the roster that would stop him.
No, Komet's good. You're not.
I think he'd be a good 2.
Yeah, Komet's
a good 2 on your team.
He's he's a better version of like K. Dot.
So truly, I think the Tyler Warren. I think especially if he runs at the combine, let's say he runs at the combine and drops a 4 or 5 or some shit, dude, he's going in the top 15 of the draft, which means if you believe in the talent, which I do personally, I don't know how he gets past 6. I don't know how he gets past 6 because especially with Dustin's team, if you look at Dustin's team, like he needs running back. He's got a lot of picks. And to me, if you're a rebuilding team, you take elite talent.
Take the elite talent where it is.
Take an elite talent and just make sure, and just at least if it busts, everybody's wrong with you. Because I don't know one person that's disparaging on Twitter or a draft analyst that doesn't like Tyler Warren. If anything, he's gone from like the end of the first to like he's got to be a first-round pick in the middle of the first.
I think because people aren't this class with it's not a huge quarterback class, which we want to touch on in a second, and it's not huge like a lot of linemen or anything, right?
No.
So like guys like Warren are the running backs and tight ends are naturally kind of coming up the draft board because people are like, hey, these are the talented players.
Yeah, and I think it's a great D-line class, which means that I think there will be a lot of D-line in the first round, but I also think a lot will get pushed down because of the depth of it. So like that would bring other position groups like this up. I think it's also a very good tight end class. However, I don't think there's anybody, including Colston Loveland. I am not a big fan. Like for where he's being talked about, I've seen him as high as 14. Yeah, I've seen him mock to the Chargers, obviously the Michigan connection.
I've seen so I've seen the Chargers.
I don't think he's a first round player. James.
The Broncos, because even Sean Payton said he wants a joker position, which is like a tight end kind of role.
Joker is going to be your Darren Waller. Joker is going to be your Kyle Pitts, that type of guy. I don't see.
You don't think Warren's that kind of player?
I think Warren could be if he wanted him to be that.
Yeah.
However, the way that Peyton uses his tight ends are like his Adam Troutman, his Lucas Kroll, like these kind of guys. Greg, didn't he cut or something? He wasn't even good enough to be on the team. Like those guys, like are the traditional Y players that you could flex out as a joker. But if he truly wants a true Marcus Colston, big slot kind of guy, then yes, Warren could do that. But he's
probably
everything else.
Yeah, he's better suited.
He could be an H-back. He can pull and kill people in the running game. James, I've never been more excited watching a blocking. Yeah. Like this means nothing for fucking fantasy, but what I do know is if you can block, you're going to be on the field.
Yeah, no, and
you're not going to come off the field. He will not come off the field wherever he's drafted. Okay. He's a plug and play tight end one on any team except for Brock Bowers right now.
Yeah.
Any team. I don't care who it is. Travis Kelce, he's going to be on the field. Noah Gray is going to be shot into the shadow realm if that happens.
Wow.
Like he's going to be on the field. So if this is the case, all I have to say is I think if that's the case, if I'm one of your teams, those 3 teams in that sweet spot of the first, as long as you really are okay with passing on one of the running backs, let's say the running backs, the top 5, all get sick landing spots.
Yeah.
Then sure, he could get moved down. But my gut is every year this happens, there's a running back that everybody loves that gets a shitty landing spot, and then he's going to fall down the boards. It happens every single year. For example, I love Zach Charbonnet coming out. I would have taken him at 1-2 if he got a good landing spot. But the Seattle landing spot killed it for me. He ends up going late first, right? Like that happens every single year.
That's a good point.
So I think it's going to happen again this year. I just don't know which back it's going to be. Obviously, nobody does. But if that happens, assuming it happens, Warren would fill the spot for me.
Okay.
So I like him. I think he's a great player. So I guess this is to wrap up Warren. Like, how do you feel based on what you've seen? Like I'm sitting here hyping him as much as I can, but
the talent justifies that he's a first-round player in our dynasty draft.
There you go.
So it's the interesting thing, I think, looking through my team specifically, it's him versus McMillan, because like I do value, I love me like a good classic receiver. I mean, I'm even intrigued by Hunter. I don't think Burden is in the class of either of these players. So I think So I think I've already kind of in my head ruled out Burden for kind of 1-6. Again, we're early still, but that's where I'm leaning.
Yeah, unless he gets a stupid good
Yeah,
like what if Burden goes to the Cowboys or something?
Yeah, we don't.
That'd be crazy.
I just don't think he's going to go that high. But Warren feels like a guy who's going to go in the top 10, and if he goes higher than McMillan, it feels like something that's lean.
That's the NFL telling you that too. If that happens, the NFL is saying.
Yeah, and especially
this guy
like if I had a different team construct, but like selfishly, like I would take because not that I'm set receiver, but I'm okay at receiver. I need to help a tight end, obviously, so I would take Warren over one of these receivers. And
sure,
it'd be crazy to think, but it's on the board that the first tight end could be over the receiver if it's 5 running backs or.
I think it's very possible. And I think
or if somebody takes Warren, I just take a running back over the other receivers.
From a fantasy perspective, from a scoring perspective, Warren could absolutely be a tight end 1
right off the bat.
800 yards, 6 touchdowns.
Well, I mean,
no questions asked. I'm not saying he's going to be Bowers or anything.
No, but if
he has the talent to do that.
Fills back end tight end 1. Yeah.
Because I just don't think he's coming off the field.
No.
Ever.
Yeah.
He's too good to take off the field, which means he's going to get the ball.
Yeah. You know what? The last point on him, like it took McBride a little bit to pop, but once he did, boom, he's there. I feel like Warren's it almost going to be because he played in the Big Ten, like he's ready to go. I think he's
played
a plug
Ohio State. He's played these big name teams.
Notre Dame.
He's experienced.
I think he's
the coaches love him. There's too many things to me to just then say, oh, he's not going to be a first rounder in our dynasty. Like he's just too talented. There's just too much there. Too many positive notes for him, and I literally cannot find a flaw. The only flaw I could find is like maybe he goes to the combine and runs like a 4.75 or whatever, which isn't even that big a deal because like if you like he's got that Gronky after the catch lumbering trucking it doesn't even matter if he runs fast to me. He just gets open, and if he's not open, he just makes plays. Like the guy's good. So anyway, that's a lot of Tyler Warren talk, but I think it's justified because I think he's not a Brock Bowers prospect from a receiving standpoint, but he is definitely better than Brock Bowers as a blocker, and I think he does George Kittle level things, and that's his ceiling for me, and I think his floor is in the Hawkinson area.
Okay.
Which is pretty high. It's a high praise, but like
still a pretty good player.
Yeah. I'm taking Hawkinson in the first round of a dynasty rookie draft if I knew what I know now.
Yeah, no, I understand. Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with him.
All right.
So then you want to talk quarterback?
Yeah, listen. We're at an hour here. Let's finish up with talk quickly on the quarterbacks and then a couple of the late first receivers maybe if we feel talking that. So Ward and Sanders are and then even throw anyone else in there.
Sure.
Are either one of these guys really fantasy relevant? I know what I'm looking at, but what do you see?
Well, I mean, let me start with Sanders because I think I've watched a couple more extra games of Sanders. I feel like Sanders is going to be, and I'm sure a lot of other people have said this, I feel like he's going to be a non-elite quarterback. We'll put it that way. I just don't see on tape enough, specifically rushing. I think if you look around at the NFL, especially for fantasy purposes, there's got to be some level of rushing in order to get to that elite level of fantasy quarterbacks
and true difference makers, guys who can actually win you leagues, win you championships.
Yeah, and of course there's the exceptions with a Joe Burrow. Guys that you really are great elite level passers. I don't think that's Shedeur Sanders right now. I don't think he's in that category. Where I see him fitting is like an efficient mid-level quarterback and I don't say this as like a knock or anything, but a Geno Smith, a Teddy Bridgewater, an efficient distributor of the football. Yeah. And he does that well. He's got a high football IQ. He works hard. He's always working. I mean, if you watch any of the Coach Prime stuff, he's a good IQ, good student in the game. Like he will be a solid quarterback. But I just don't know if there's enough special traits. He doesn't really run. Not saying he can't run.
Yeah.
But that's where I get the Geno Smith. It's like I know Geno could run if he wanted. It just doesn't happen often.
Right.
And I don't know if that changes in the NFL. Shit, if he's behind the Giants' offensive line, he might be running for his life the whole time. I don't know.
I know.
But I didn't see that at any point really in Colorado where he was thinking run first, which is good because I don't like run first quarterbacks to begin with. But like I really like Teddy Bridgewater coming out. Yeah. I didn't really like Geno Smith coming out, but he was a good at least prospect in terms of like his overall accuracy and his ability to read the field. I think Shedeur does the same things.
Okay.
So now if you take that from a dynasty lens,
I just thought
how valuable is that?
It's going to be landing spot dependent. I just don't know if I'm going to be that excited on him. He's someone that he feels like a fourth rounder in our league, and it's just
like I would see, and maybe because of the scarcity at the quarterback position, I don't really know anybody in our league that's dying for a quarterback.
No, well, I mean, yours truly probably is the one that needs because I have Herbert, and then my quarterback 2 is Carr.
Okay.
And then Levis is my 3. That's it.
Yeah, so you might be in the market at the end of the draft. Perhaps.
That's why whoever the Titans take,
sure,
it's almost a natural. All right, well, like I'll just take that guy, and whoever.
I think the best Tibbs could be in the market for a quarterback as well. Just as like a flyer.
That's honestly, those are the 2 teams I think, and then probably the Elk.
Like if we're sitting, like here's an example. If we're sitting in the waiver part of the draft, the 5th round or whatever, and I'm on the clock, like I'll fucking take it.
No,
I don't think that's. We're not gonna have that. I don't think.
I have 3/4. I'll take one of these quarterbacks.
Of course. Okay, that makes sense.
Ward is someone who especially I living in South Florida.
I
watched a lot of Cam Ward. I thought he had more rushing. Like when we were planning this episode, I was like, I'm hyped on Cam Ward. I thought he had more rushing stats than he did, but you know what it is? It's just he's a physical guy. It almost like you see he makes those like scramble throws. He's just like ripping arm. Like
guy has talent.
Like that arm talent throws. Like he was the offense, whereas like Shedeur, it feels like more of that efficient player. Whereas Ward feels like a playmaker. I think it could bust spectacularly.
Absolutely.
I think Cam Ward could go to Cleveland and just be awful. But it's almost one of those players. I feel like the upside is like if it works, like you're gonna know quickly if it works.
Sure.
So he's not somebody that I'm really. I don't think any of these quarterbacks I'm really interested in taking in the top 15. I think we're talking the picks 15 through 25.
Right, and I think it's almost for me at least from a fantasy perspective entirely due to the ground game. Like I think both can be good passers in the NFL. Yeah. I just don't like from a rushing dynasty upside. And if you're chasing an elite, top 10 quarterback, I don't know if you get that.
Yeah.
I don't know because of the lack of legs. Now I will say this on Cam Ward, James. I like Cam Ward. I'm a Cam Ward guy.
Okay.
So like I know a lot of people are like, oh, he doesn't deserve to be 1 or whatever. Like,
no,
sure, maybe he doesn't. But I saw stuff like I'll be honest with you. Throughout the year, I did not watch much Miami football. I'm realizing that was a big mistake because they have a lot of draft prospects.
They really do.
Their offense.
Restrepo, they have a tight end.
Arroyo is excellent.
Arroyo's good
which we didn't even get. Well, now you get to that's for a different podcast. Restrepo is good. Damian Martinez is good. They have another running back that's good. Like they're a good team. Yeah. They have great offensive linemen that's going to go in the top probably 50 picks. Like they're good.
They always recruit talent in Miami. They
find ways to get guys. But my point is here, I didn't watch a lot of Miami, and I regret it because there's a lot of talent. But now that I think I've watched about 5 games on Ward this year, and I feel very good about him as a passer. Okay. Now I don't think he's quite up to Sanders in terms of the ability to read the field quite yet. I think he's got work to do there. But the thing I like about Ward, after looking at his profile as a whole, James, is that if you look at his journey to get to where he is, this is a guy that got better every single year. So yes, he might be a 5th-year player or whatever the heck, a late bloomer, if you will. But this guy got better, improved, and then took Miami to a top 4, number 1, like the whole thing. Like that means something to me. If you're an NFL team looking at a play, can this player develop every year, one after another? He has a track record of it, and that makes me believe he could take coaching. That means he can learn quickly. He can adapt to situations quickly. Those are all things I like. Yeah, and he's got arm talent. James, he made some sick ass throws.
There was a throw against Louisville where he rolls to the left and he's on the opponent's 40-yard line. It just rips a throw in the back left of the end zone, and it's just like not many quarterbacks can make that throw. And it's and like he's so I am more excited about him than Shedeur for those reasons. Yes. And that's really about it at quarterback. I was intrigued for a second on Milroe because of the rushing, but he sucked at the Senior Bowl. He might be a worse prospect than Anthony Richardson. Sorry, Tibbs.
No, I think Milroe is there was kind of that buzz for first round.
It died out. It went to Jackson Dart.
His first day at the Senior Bowl looked like a problem. Like it was like this guy can't play.
That's what I'm saying. And because of that sscarcity, Ward and Sanders probably go, but they probably both go in the top 5 in real NFL.
I think they both go in
the
top 5.
As we talked, the Titans, who I got my eye on for sure with Levis, Titans, Browns, Giants, and Raiders all legitimately need quarterbacks. So even if one of those teams signs Darnold and opts out before the draft, we still got 2 out of 3 need. What are you doing at quarterback?
Somebody's got to do something.
Those 3 teams do not have an answer at quarterback.
I think after what I've seen of the both quarterbacks, I honestly think the Titans go with them at 1. And I honestly think the Giants go with them at 3.
Okay, so here, let's kind of end this here because we're dude, I mean, is Cam Ward someone then, especially someone like me? I have Levis. I definitely like. Is he someone in that? You know, like what, top 20, top 15? Like I'm
not taking quarterback in the top 20 this year.
Yeah. Okay. Then
not in the first 2 rounds.
I mean, it almost feels like
if you look at last year, James, we had Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels went in the second.
Both were more highly regarded prospects.
Sure, and they still barely I don't want to say barely, but they're in the second. They weren't even first thoughts. Like
I know you're right.
Like those guys had elite upside.
I feel like I'm gonna get Cam Ward with one of those if I even want it. I have picks. I told you I have mine, yours, and Dustin's 3rd round picks.
So okay, those are high third. All like 3 3rd round picks, very high. That's the sweet spot.
That feels like a sweet spot for Cam Ward.
If like looking back to last year with the quarterbacks that came out last year, from a prospect standpoint, not like what we know now, I would have taken, like, if you put Cam Ward in this class, I put him ahead of Nix and McCarthy.
That's fair.
I like him better than both of those players coming out as a prospect because I see there's a level, there's a track record of growth, and he has the arm talent. And there's reason for me to believe that he can be a great passer. Okay. So like all that, and I think he's a good kid from everything I can say. Like he seems like a good, solid like IQ guy. So like I think that's enough for me as a dynasty player, maybe for you, to take him easily in the 3rd.
Yeah.
And just hope that we get elite passing upside to maybe, even if he doesn't run, if we can get a guy that throws 30 touchdowns a year, like he has that upside, and I can believe in it. So that's like I don't think. Unless there's a team that just, absolutely falls in love with him in our dynasty league, I don't see a 2nd round pick from him in our league, or Shedeur for that matter. I think for Shedeur, it would be lucky to be a 3rd round pick in our league. It just depends.
Yeah.
Like, are you excited about Shedeur? Like, if he goes to the Giants, are you super excited?
I'm not taking him with. Or
if you have 3-1, 3-2, 3-3, is he even in consideration?
No.
I don't think so.
For me, you'd have to go to the Titans for me to consider that. He'd have to go one.
He just has to be the guy.
He has to be the first pick overall, and then because I have Levis, and I would like look.
At least you can hedge.
I literally need a 3rd quarterback.
Yeah, you can hedge there, so that makes sense. All right. Well,
but for anyone else, I'm not like. I don't see anyone else getting super excited on Shedeur beyond the top because of the Russian.
I mean, I just don't think he's just from a fantasy perspective.
Yeah.
Like sure, he can be a good real life and just for elite neighbors, it's a great thing because at least he can accurately get him the ball. For like a Wandale and like maybe some of the other Slayton if he's still there or whatever. Like that should be good for them. Tyrone Tracy, like those guys. But I don't see a world like I don't believe that he is worth the 3rd pick in this draft. If you look from a prospect standpoint and a big board standpoint, I think in this draft I would put Ward as a top 20 pick, like a top 20 in my big board. And I think I would put Shedeur between 25 and 32 somewhere.
Okay.
Like if I was just an NFL team making a big board. Like that's kind of where I would say. Like I don't think either are elite talents. But I think if I had to bet on one to be an elite talent for fantasy, I would bet on Ward. So that's where I land up.
All right.
Which is
I think that's a good that's a good place. That's a good spot to end on the quarterbacks. There's definitely more. I'm sure we'll do. What's always fun is like the mock drafts later on. I'd love to watch. Like I said, you guys do some. Bring on some other guests.
Yeah, I think we'll do mocks. I think this is a good year for mock from a pick standpoint because I don't think there's a whole lot of. I don't need to be a lot of secrecy, with that. So like that's fine. Obviously for my 2-2, I feel like I'll get a good player. So, and I know Sean doesn't have a first. So
I'm interested to see how what do you guys would mock my team 1-3, 1-6.
Yeah, all that. Like I've done mocks. In just like while I was on the plane, I was just like, okay, like, well, here's the draft. I have the draft order for the 1st round set up just to see, and I had the draft in like I was like, oh shit, this could happen. This could happen. And then when I got down to Justin and Vince's team, like towards the bottom and Dan's pick and all that, I was like, okay, now it could go anywhere. And like it gets interesting once you get past like 6. So like I think we'll definitely do a mock draft and we'll try to get Charlie Campbell on again. We'll try to do a lot more draft talk. Once again, if you have ideas for the podcast, James came up with this idea for prospect propaganda and try to get this ball rolling with the prospects. So please submit any ideas you might have, and we can try to get them on. And if you want to be a guest, let me know. If you want to talk about, if you want to do your own propaganda and push people up and down, we whatever you want to do. We love a good smoke screen. We could get a Kevin Norwood situation. You never know. So anything is possible here on the PHU Dynasty podcast. So until next time, we'll see you later, and thanks for tuning in. Hopefully the